And good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk, Real Talk on Parental Alienation and Narcissistic Abuse tonight with our special guest, Jack Gooding from England, UK. And also here tonight is with me, not Jack, but Andy Martens, the Andy Martens Show. We amalgamated on Sunday nights. So together we are doing our podcast. If anybody is wondering what's going on, but yes, Andy Martens and I have amalgamated with Parental Alienation as child abuse page. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for tuning or sharing with us what we need to know about parental alienation and narcissistic abuse. And Andy is really into the narcissistic personalities, and he knows a lot about it. So he's always questioning us on our show.
Oh, well, I'm profiling narcissists. It makes sense. It really does. I have one that lives next door to me, and I'm seeing the characteristics of it all. So
Well, this
it
will be
adds up, Mary, just like AB and adds to equals C.
exactly. So this will be an interesting show tonight because we have Jack Gooding, who is a MEd and a BEd and a BA, and is a narcissistic abuse survivor and an alienated father for 17 years now, but is estranged because we all know parent alienation. Once the child turns 18, if they don't come back, they're estranging themselves. So through reacting to the trauma, his son has recently made contact, which is good. He was also alienated from his entire paternal family at the age of 7. So from 2017, Jack has contributed to raising awareness of narcissistic abuse and educating, supporting survivors. Prior to recently becoming trustee of Parent Alienation Awareness, Jack Goodings and Parent Alienation Awareness YouTube channel, Jack spent 25 years in teaching and senior leadership, and he entered into the Good School Guides on receiving end of narcissistic abuse and identifying parent alienation. Excuse me. Welcome, Jack. I'm going to get Andy to speak because I am starting to choke, and he's going to ask you questions once you talk. Excuse me, a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Is it me
Welcome
or
to the
Andy?
show, Jack. Yeah, Jack is live from the UK right now. It's just after 1 in the morning. We really appreciate you staying up to do this live broadcast with us. And that's great. Yeah, we're working on getting the Andy Martin Show back on Facebook, but Mary's more popular than I am, so we'll continue to stream with her stuff. In meanwhile, so Jack, yeah, parental alienation. I'm not an alienated father, but I grew up with a dysfunctional family, and I've seen it on my wife's side, where sibling alienates the sister's kids. It seems as though Mary's situation and your situation, there's a genetic deal here. You're alienated as a kid, and you're alienated as marry or have a relationship and all of that stuff. It
Yeah.
continues on in your life. Is that how your situation mirrors that as well?
It seems to be. Yes. Yes. It seems to be almost everybody people who are alienated, quite often when you speak with them, they actually, don't realize that that's happened to them in the past in some form or another. And then they start making the connection. In fact, actually, because I came through the narcissistic abuse community while I was being alienated from my children, and I didn't realize that I knew that I was being not alienated. I knew there was a gatekeeper there, but we didn't know about the term parental alienation. But we did know that our children were being kept from us and that they were turning against us. And then we look back, we say, crikey, that happened to us as well. And then you realize that nowadays there's a term called parental alienation. So yeah, I think
Right,
there's a
right.
lot.
When it happened to my wife's sister 20 years ago when we moved into this house that I'm still in today, I was going, what the heck's going on here? I thought family was supposed to be together and all a team and rah, rah, rah. And what's going on here? Playing favorites, control. And now I look back at that 20 years later, control and playing favorites and all that is a setup for parental alienation.
Yeah, yeah, it is, isn't it? It is. It seems to be that I don't know. You know, when I was working in schools as well, you'd see it quite a lot, and unfortunately, this toxicity and the bad parenting. It looked like bad parenting. It's rife and it's enabled. It's enabled in the schools. It's enabled in the court systems and the doctors as well, wherever. You know, folks. In fact, strangely, and not strangely, but heartbreakingly, people who are being kept away from their children, you know, they apparently have a responsibility to parent, but they don't. For one thing, they don't have a right to see the children, even though they've got a responsibility. But then they lose access to the doctors and to the medical and the educational, and it just all breaks down. So you got these parents who want to see their kids, and the other parents saying, "Oh no, that's an abusive person," or whatever it is, and "Oh, I know best for my kids, and my kids don't want to see them," or whatever it might be. And then the children are allowed to make the decisions. "Oh, I don't want to go around mums," or "I don't want to go around dads. They tell me off." and the parent goes, "Oh, you don't have to go around theirs." Okay, no, don't listen to them. No, if they make you uncomfortable, you don't have to go around there. It should be a law, but it's not a law over here.
Right, exactly. Now, Jack, in your situation, how did this start? Like, obviously, you met your ex, and you were happy in the beginning, but was it as time went on? Was it a short, quick? We've seen in doing these shows with Mary that often people who get into the trouble. Um, get married or get engaged and all of that after 3 months or less. And my argument to that is you really don't know a person after 3 months and then things change. But make no mistake about it, a narcissist sets up, is looking for you, looking for somebody who they can do all this to. It's deliberate. They don't wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to be a narcissist."
Yeah, yeah. You don't see it, do you? And that's the whole point. They don't want you to see their character, and it literally blows your mind because you think you're getting together and you're forming a family. You know, if that's the most precious bond and the most precious thing in the entire world, when you've got a family and you're going out to work or you're building a home for them and you've got your kids and so on. And look, you know, things happen and people fall apart. You don't realize they're falling apart because you're with a narcissist, but you think, well, okay, everything's strained. And when you do break up at the end, you think at least that there can be some kind of amicable split. But what you had no expectation of is they will literally, these people, what they do afterwards, it's almost like, well, they want to cut you out completely. And you think you wouldn't ever do what they do. You would never do to them or to anybody what they would do to you. And you thought you knew that person intimately. And even though you've broken up, you still wouldn't want to hurt them. In fact, you'd encourage the kids to see them as well. It literally blows your mind. But they don't care. That's the thing. They really, honestly.
Well, and that's the way my father was. He battled against it, and he kind of even though the divorce was there, he made it amicable, and my father made it sort of made that effort and kind of made it normal and somewhat normal. And unless you have somebody strong like that, you're going to lose it, and you don't have the 50-50 or anything. Then, 20 years goes by in Mary's case and in my sister in law's case, you don't have a hope in heck of getting anything after 20 years because there was no effort made. There was no effort made during that time period by the
Yeah,
other spouse. So now my sister-in-law's spouse has Parkinson's, and now is not the right time. Early onset of Parkinson's at 63. Now it's not the right time to go to him and say, "Hey, buddy, you dropped the ball 20 years ago. Go to bat for your wife and your kids." So what do you do? It's done with them. It's you can't
that's right.
change it.
That's right. In our law over here in the UK, in black and white, you can go to gov.uk and you can type in there parental rights and responsibilities. And on that very page, almost a second paragraph down, it says for separated parents, although they both have a responsibility, it says you do not have a right to see your child straight away. And then we got this thing over here called CAFCAS. It's a children's family service thing funded through the law, the Justice Ministry of Justice. So you've got this legal aspect. There's the legal aspect because this whole thing is abuse. It's legal. It's a criminal kind of thing. But you've got this legal aspect, and then there's the family courts. They're funding the family courts who are making the decisions on the children. But when you got a narcissist trying to come in and you got a narcissist and a non-narcissist, the two of them are supposed to work together now for the best interest of the child. Well, for one thing, this narcissist is now continually abusing the non-narcissist. And all my hands are up, and it's all such a mess. This CAFCAS, I can say it out in public as well because I run the national helpline for alienated parents who are calling up, and
Right.
the number of times that they say about CAFCAS, what happens is the narcissist will make a false allegation or will say that the child doesn't want to see that parent or there's a safeguarding issue or whatever. As soon as that's said, the safe parent is taken away. It's taken from the child. It's awful, and it can take like 2-3 years. It's just, oh my goodness, it's just a money game, and people look at it and they had no idea first until they get to this point. They didn't realize that the system was so bad that it would literally destroy families and people. Are we allowed to use the S word, SUIC? Where people take their own lives and things. That rate
I
is
don't
Yes,
know.
yes, you
Mary's
can.
the executive producer. She's got to make that decision.
Yes, you are allowed. You're talking about suicide, murders.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Every single person. I mean, it's so bad, right? CAFCAS and the legal systems and all that lot is because it's not an automatic 50-50 when parents split. It's so bad. In fact, the the medical center, not the NHS, but the medical board says that losing a child through custody is far worse on your mental health than losing a child to death. Yeah. And so what you see is every single parent, every single one who comes to us, who we speak to, has suicide ideation. Every single one of them. And this isn't just like, oh, a month or two. This is years.
And I can
And it's not
contest to
like,
that because I had a daughter that was killed through mercy killing, but at least I had closure with her. To lose my 3 alienated adult children for 19 years, there's no closure because they're living. Someone else is getting to do the things a mom should be doing with their children or a father should be doing with the children, not a stranger, not predators. You know, we were protecting them from predators. They were handed to predators.
Your hands are tied.
Yeah, I didn't get to see my kids because of 2 false arrests, multiple false allegations. And yet I raised the kids for 20 years, the first 20 years. Never a problem. I worked, I was a good wife. He comes home with a mistress. I had the wool pulled over my head.
And that's just it. Narcissists do not. They fool people. They do not. They were never in love with that person. It's a fool's game.
Yeah. And, you know, when I found out about the mistress, I filed for a divorce. 25 years after, he tells me, oh, you drop it, we'll go to marriage counseling. Well, he only wanted me to drop it so he could set me up. And I didn't see it. I did not see the red flag there. I didn't expect to be fooled that bad and to have him stand in front of me with a butcher knife ready to cut me up. I knew he would do it because I got stabbed by him many times, but it just doesn't dawn on us at the time. We're trying to be a mutual couple, but one's got evil in their mind and the other one's got love in the head to bring those together for the kids. But that's the worst thing we can do for the kids, because our kids are turning into the opposite of what we raised them to be, right? I don't know if you can agree with that, Jack, but what do you think?
No, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I can see that. I've got to be careful about, you know, what I say about my children in case they ever see this at all. But what I can see, they would disagree maybe. My children, they're not the happy people that they used to be, and I know. Oh, Craig, I've got to be real careful about what I say. You see them change. You do see them change. And then you see the folks who they're hanging around with, you know, other family members and other friends and so on. And what's really weird is when you get together with these kind of families, it's a weird thing. I don't know about yourselves, but you seem to have to, me personally, I had to learn how to be in their kind of way. I felt almost like not good enough. I felt good enough for myself before I met this lot, but when I was in that family, for some reason, it seemed like I didn't quite measure up as such. It was really weird. And so if I felt that, then surely, you know, that my kids would have felt that as well. I know they do. I know they did.
They say what they feel.
Sorry?
Isn't that, they say that what we feel, they feel? It's like a connection, right? We wake up in the middle of the night, the kids will wake up in the middle of the night. I noticed that in my own good life with them, that, you know, when I woke, my eyes would open, the kids would wake up. It's like we bonded that way. So a lot of kids wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety, depression, and, you know, they can't sleep because they're, you know, they're craving to be with that loving parent. They're losing all that comfort that they once had. Because a narcissist will not get close to them. They won't hug them and kiss them and say, I love you. I mean, if anything, they push the kids away from it. Because I know I dealt with that. Oh, you smother them, you baby them, you're turning him into a sissy. You know, like, let the baby cry. You don't let a baby cry, you pick the baby up. But it's because we're not picking them up. We're not coddling them.
Yeah. And then the other thing you see as well, isn't it? It's like if you've got two kids, one of them will get all the love and the attention and the, you know, the hugs and all that kind of stuff, and the other one gets told off all the time, which is really sad, because then that's where you come in with the scapegoat and the golden child stuff and all, isn't it?
Yeah, the favoritism and control and whatnot, which isn't right.
They're looking for
And you,
conditional love. They're
yeah,
craving the something. Yes, yes.
yeah,
They're pitted against each other before the alienation happens.
yeah. I'll tell you this: when my son grew up, or my children grew up, um, my s- my son would spend a lot of time over there. Well, they all would, and I was. Well, my own story was slightly, I was doing other things at the time then, but it got to a point. My son, the new guy, he used to try to intimidate me to, quietly to keep me away from them, and my kids wouldn't know this, but he ended up hitting my son. My son was, about 19, 20, something like that. He ended up hitting my son. My son hit him back in this guy's house. It was their new home. And the guy called the police on him. This is my child. The guy called the police on him. The police came along, arrested my son. This is like, what, and threw him in jail. They took my son, the house key off of my son. He said that's what hurt the most. He had no money at all. He wasn't allowed back. He got thrown onto the streets afterwards. And to be honest with you, I thought, how on earth could his mum allow that to happen as well? Surely his mum, if she was so great, would, would have said to that guy, sod off, that's my son. I'm not having him sleeping on the streets, homeless, and you're not going to hit him and all this kind of stuff. I came up and I helped him out, even though I was living in a camper van at the time. Long story. I'd been homeless a couple of times as well. But
Me too.
what gets me is how they would treat your kids and allow them to be arrested, whatever, but they've not done anything wrong. And oh my goodness, you think your own parent did that to you, but then you're expected to still be close to that parent as well. While the other parents, me, us, well, we're still the bad people and we're still not allowed to be in their lives. And then they think that we're bad people as well because they've been taught that. And so it goes back to what you said, that we can't protect our kids and we're seeing them being mistreated and they're having to be okay with it.
That's the
And there's
worst
us.
part of it all, because we
Yeah.
can't help them,
Yeah. There's
right?
nothing we can do.
There's nothing we
then
can do.
If you look down, I'm not saying this happened. It might have happened, it might not have happened, but you might see some injuries on one of your children, perhaps, teenagers, whatever age it might be. And you're not allowed to bring that up because they're not telling you about it. So you go to the family doctor. Maybe you're not divorced either. You go to the family doctor, you say, hey, doc, what's going on? I've seen this or whatever. And they say, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to tell you. What? So, well, I can't say. So, well, we're not divorced. They say, well, I'm still not allowed to tell you. So, and that's crazy because you're supposed to be allowed this information
Tell your
because
doctor.
you're parents. Yeah, but then the doctor will turn around and say, yeah, but this is safeguarding of your child that we've been told to not tell you. They go, I'll tell you off record. Don't tell me off record. Tell me on record. I'm the parent. And I've got parental responsibility. I said, no, we can't do that. I said, oh, it's insane.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. And that's what we see with every single parent as well. It's not just the fact that they've lost their kids. It's about that they can't do anything about it either. They go see this person and the door's shut. They go see that person, the door's shut. They're exploited by all these other people. It says, yeah, give us your money and we'll help you out. But there's no answer. Nothing gets done. And then sadly,
It's
some
all
people
about
take their
money.
lives.
It's all about the money. Because now what they're trying to do is silence all the therapists that we bring in to have their own therapists, their own specialists. Those people can say whatever they want in court because they're being paid by the court system, right? So we're being bombarded by or barricaded by, narcissistic abusers, because
It's
anyone who
narcissistic
supports,
abuse.
yeah, because whoever supports a narcissist or abuse, never mind the word narcissist, if they support someone that's abusing, it makes them no different.
Yeah, that's
Especially when
right.
they're paid for it. That's trafficking,
Yeah,
isn't it?
because we know that you get narcissists or abusers in the family. They come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and so on, and you know, different genders, can be male, female, whatever it might be, same sex, whatever.
Hmm.
But if we've got it there, you've got it in the system as well. You'll have the doctors, you'll have people in schools, and you'll have folks in, you know, even therapists and legal systems. There's abusers, narcissists there, you know, people who like to control. And it's
Hmm.
no matter how much you can provide evidence, it's not good enough. So you're left again with your hands tied, your children not safe. Months go by, years go by, and you go, like you said earlier on, you're going through this grieving process of losing your children, which wasn't meant to happen in the first place. But that grieving doesn't stop. It's
Never.
horrific.
It
And
is.
and then people turn around, they say, well, that doesn't ever happen. You know,
Well,
this, you know, they say things like, oh, well, you know, you must have done something wrong. But you didn't,
that's it.
you
You
know.
don't do anything wrong. It's just the other person. What you did wrong was marry the wrong person. Um, Most of us regret it halfway through our marriage, but we still stay thinking that we could save them, you know?
Yeah.
But if they don't want to be saved, why are we struggling so hard to do so? I mean, you give them the sex, the supply, the services, and the safety, and they're still not happy, no matter what you do for them.
Yeah, it goes back to what you all said, isn't it? You know, and Andy and all, you know, these people, they just don't care. They just, it's all about them, 100% about them. Narcissists are really bad people. I'd go as far as saying they're evil people. And you know, when they say, oh, it's a personality disorder, quite honestly, I don't think it's got anything to do with the personality. I think it's got everything to do with the heart and the soul.
Well, it
Personally,
does it does a little bit, Jack, but I think it's a big excuse. It's a personality disorder is so wide and long and spectrum and that, but the problem is it comes in different categories, different pieces. You can have a personality disorder, but you can't necessarily be a narcissist. But yeah, that's the thing. But I just wanted to mention something even more interesting that in a family that I know, the father was controlling and this and that and favored one kid. He had five kids and favored one kid out of the, well, a couple of them out of the five. But he wasn't a narcissist. He kept his family together. So my point is this, is that genetics and the mix and all of that, somebody could come out of that and be a narcissist, the way they were brought up with the mix, but the father and the mother were together all this time. So it's so cosmic how the brain is wired differently with these people that it's hard to understand, but it's true how different ingredients go into the children and they become narcissist and evil. But the father was controlling and this and that, but the intentions weren't there that the children brought out after the fact.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you never know. And it goes back to that question, I suppose, as well, doesn't it? Nature versus nurture and all that as well. And, you
Well,
know, honestly,
Terry, let me interrupt you one more time. Sorry. I think it comes to choice. You want to make
yes,
a choice. If you meet somebody, you
yes,
get married, you have a relationship, and here I go mentioning it again. I'm going to mention it 1,000 times on Mary's show, on my show, that if you have a relationship, whether it's this show or you have a spouse, you make a decision every day you are alive. You wake up in the morning. Are you going to get along with the person? It's give and take, this and that. No abuse, no narcissistic, this and that. It's a decision you make. These people knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, that's why I don't personally say that it's a personality disorder myself, because we make that choice. We do make that choice, right? And that's why, and that choice, comes from our heart, doesn't it? So if people are choosing and they know that they know what they're doing and they're hurting us, and they're okay with that, that's more to do with the heart. You're right. They're making a choice. They know exactly what they're
Well,
doing.
personality disorder may be playing a part of that. From what I've done, and since we're doing these shows, I'm no expert by any means, but their brains are wired differently.
Yeah.
And personality disorder is a mixture, and there's other things. So they just don't understand the way it should be, and you're not going to get what you think it should be. The way Mary and I talk every day, and that we have this relationship doing the show, you're not going to get that from a narcissist, because a narcissist wants it their way, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen. But the key is, I think, to everybody that are looking at this broadcast, and I welcome all my viewers too, because I did share this live broadcast to all my social media. You're going to have to make a decision, and the quicker you know that your friend, your spouse, your girlfriend, your fiance is a narcissist, you better end it, because next thing you know, you'll be in it for 10 or 20 years. It's wasted time. It's never going to get better. All right, Mary, it's your turn. I've talked enough.
That's okay. I'm just going to throw up a couple comments up here on, we've got Misty Webster. She says, thanks for telling people about this. I mean, this is why we brought Jack Goodings along here, because, he specializes in narcissistic abuse, and people don't understand that we lose our children because of it. We don't exaggerate. We don't, make up stuff, because who would want to make up something like this? So I just want to ask the viewers if they could tell us where they're viewing from, so that we have an idea worldwide, because it's not an isolated area that this happens to. It happens to everybody. I mean, Jack is in the UK, Andy's in the Sioux, I'm in just minutes from Toronto, and we get people from all over the world on this show, from Spain, from Africa, from Hungary, from Hawaii, Andy? Like, we have gone worldwide to know that this is a
That's right.
serious pandemic. So,
Exactly.
Jack, there's a question here for you. Let's see, what was it? I think, oh no, this is from Michelle. I can't say your last name, Michelle. I'm sorry, but she says it's horrible. And I'm from Canada, and I'm living parental alienation now. It's devastating. What would you say to her for us, so that she can take grip of this? She's new. So what do you think?
So, right. I don't know if it said Mitchell or Michelle. I don't know.
Michelle, or is it Mitchell? I'm sorry, it's Mitchell.
So, whether it's a few months or a few years or much longer than that as well, I think that what you're experiencing is very real, and that when you're turning around to get the help and you're not getting the help, that's real as well. And if you're considering spending tons of money in the legal system, you're going to end up spending an absolute fortune, and you might not get much further than just possibly maybe some visits. Perhaps you're not going to get the 50-50 parenting, which is what we're all aiming for. And as a baseline, first of all, the most important thing is this. Honestly, this is completely the most important thing, is to realize that you're being abused, to realize that your children are being abused as well, and the ways in which your children are behaving towards you. Try to see through that, because if it's affecting you, you can imagine how much it's affecting them, and they don't have the coping skills. So we end up sometimes, maybe we're still trying to parent them the same way that we were. Maybe they're being rude to us, and maybe we're saying, hey, don't you be rude to me or whatever. I'm not your child, I'm your parent. All those kind of things. None of that works anymore. The whole way in which you're parenting most definitely has to change. So yeah, what's actually happening to you? And like I say, the way that if you're seeing your children in some kind of way, there's things going on which I think it's helpful to learn about narcissistic abuse, learn about narcissists, learn about abusers, learn about controlling people. And I think the biggest thing is that you've got to make sure that you're okay. You've got to look after yourself. Otherwise, you'll go into a deep, deep, dark, depressive hole, which you're probably there anyway. You really, really have to put yourself first. Sometimes it's a minute by minute or an hour by hour struggle. You have to get through to see this for what it actually is. Forget about the term parental alienation, which personally, I don't like the term parental alienation, because it wasn't something I knew when I was being narcissistically abused, because I came through that community. I knew that my children were being weaponized against me. I knew what was happening there. I knew that my relationship with them was being sabotaged. I knew what was going on there, and I didn't need the term parental alienation. In fact, in the courts here, you can use the terms alienating behaviors, which is what it is. The term parental alienation is just going to get you in trouble, or it'll help you find communities like ours. And then we'll turn around and say, well, try not to use that term in court, but understand that what's going on is you're all being abused, that these are behaviors that an abuser is using, and that you're being, I can't think of any better word, to be honest with you, is being attacked, massively, and you're psychologically attacked. And also you're being set up, possibly, maybe so that you are put in a situation where you can't parent your children at all, and you're being set up. You have to know this, and you've really got to be very, very, very careful about your own well-being. That's the priority right now.
Right.
That's what I'd say.
So you've spent 25 years in teaching in senior leadership, and you established the Music for Wellbeing Limited company to help the unemployed back into manageable mindsets. Is it because of narcissistic abuse that that? So tell us about that.
Okay, I'll have to be a little careful because let's see, I suppose legal implications, I guess, as well.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't have to say anything you don't want to, Jack. My apologies.
No, that's okay. I'll try and just jump around and be a little bit, skirt around a couple of things. But what happened basically was when I came out of teaching the first time, I've come out a couple of times. It's the best way of saying this. Came out of teaching and I used my redundancy money to pay off all the family debt. I don't do debt, but I used it to pay off all the debt, and I found myself in an unemployed. And when that happened, there was no more money to give to my kid's mum, and everything went completely bad after that. Really bad straight away. As soon as I didn't have any money, it's exact same moment. So I found, this is all to do with how to take care of yourself as well. I didn't go through the family courts. Instead, what I had to do was realize that that I was going to be on the streets and I was going to be financially destitute, which I ended up being anyway. And I had to figure out some kind of way to protect myself. So during that time of unemployment, I created a small little business, which turned into a really cool business, a limited company, and applied for some funding, which was a nice amount of funding as well, a few different times, using music to help unemployed people get back into an employable state. It was in the newspapers and all over the internet and everything. It was brilliant. Well, that was being sabotaged by somebody else that I got together with, and I had no idea what narcissistic abuse was at the time. And this is 5 years after I left my family, because I was the one that left. I didn't leave my kids, but I left my wife at the time. 5 years later, getting into another relationship. That's something you've got to be careful of as well, because you can easily step into another abusive relationship without knowing, and they will also contribute to your children being alienated from you as well. And you don't realize that even them behind the scenes are sabotaging everything. And that's what this one person was doing, was sabotaging my business, and did sabotage the business. So this narcissistic abuse and the parental alienation, it all becomes a murky mess, and you're thinking, what's what? It's all just abuse. And but the thing is, and this is, I think, this really important thing, is you have to stop at some point and say, what's going on? Because I'll tell you what, if you're a believer in God, myself, I love God, I love the Lord. And he'll let this abuse happen to a point of where it's so painful. For me, I was on my hands and knees by the end of it all, begging. I couldn't see what was going on. I could not see what was actually happening. You reach a point of so much pain where you actually start snapping out of it, and you actually start seeing what's going on. Then you start seeing it in your families and so on as well. But the point there is, you have to get to a point sometime down the road to be able to see what's actually going on, be able to see it from the outside of it. I don't know, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. What was the question again? Oh, it was about the music stuff. All this was happening during the music stuff. I was waking up basically through a lot of pain, and noticed that almost every single person around me was using me and was abusive. I had really good friends as well, but I'd let these people in. And they really liked me as a juicy morsel, easy to manipulate. I was a pleaser, whatever, wasn't codependent. They try and make you into being codependent, but they then get you to question yourself and all. You just don't see it at all. It's an insane kind of world. But then you get to a point where you do see it, and then things change.
Let me ask you this: was it a quick kind of relationship to get into business with them? Because you know how they say, if the relationship moves too fast, it's a red flag.
Oh yeah, totally.
Is that what it was?
Every single relationship of getting into, that's a good point, Mary. Yeah. If any of you out there are like getting into any kind of relationships and stuff is happening really fast, believe us, any relationship that's happening really fast doesn't mean that they're narcissists, but it does mean that that's not healthy at all. So every single one of those relationships that turned out to be not healthy happened fast.
Too fast.
Turns out that a lot of them actually were detrimental to my well-being and the well-being of my children. That took me an awfully long time to learn.
Yeah, I know my relationship. I didn't want to get married, but he joined the Army within that year, to the day. He was gone nearly 12 months. but he came home for 3 weeks, and I ended up marrying him in that 3 weeks time. There was no time. Like, it was his mother put the ring on my finger. She planned the engagement party, blew me right out of the water. I'm telling you, like, my whole family's at the house, and I'm thinking, I just told this guy for 3 years to leave me alone. I'm walking into a house with my family. The mother puts on the ring, and it was his alienated father's ring. We were 23 years old almost. She gave him his father's ring that he had never been able to have a relationship with. Now, that was very disturbing, and I tried to run the wedding day. It didn't work. I was either marrying him or dying, because he threatened to kill me if I didn't, like, it was very hard for us. So these young kids that are falling into narcissistic abuse through an alienated child, we need to educate them that these alienated children are suffering severe trauma. Because that's what my ex-husband was suffering. He was nervous that if I didn't marry him, his mother would condemn him. Because she planned the wedding, she planned the engagement, she gave me the ring right in front of my. I wanted to throw it at her. But because I had a kind heart and knew what I was getting into, I was scared, terrified. I took it. But I tried to get away those 3 weeks, and it didn't work. So I'm more into speaking about how to prevent it before it happens. Because once you've been abused by a narcissist, wow, it's devastating.
Yeah.
It breaks your soul.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think, you got all these I suppose communities and folks out there going, oh, how to heal from this, from abuse. Personally, I don't think you heal. I don't think there's any healing. I think it leaves a lifelong injury as such, that you learn to live with, in a sense, and to comfort. You recover from it in certain ways, but it can affect your health as well. It's so badly, you're left with some sort of disability sometimes. I'll admit, I struggle with my mental well-being, like almost on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to look after myself every single day. And when I don't, I start slipping. These people, when you've gone through abuse that badly, it really, it's very, very, very serious stuff, isn't it?
It is.
But I agree with you, as far as educating people, as far as, are we going to see that education happening in schools? I don't know. I think that's and the reason I think that might not be successful perhaps is because you've got children who are being alienated from one parent by an abuser, and the abuser is the one who's overseeing the child in the school. So who's going to turn around to the child and say, hey, let's teach you about abuse, and let's see if you can see that anywhere. Oh, I see it in my mom. I see it in my dad. It's just not going to happen. I don't think so. It might, but not very easily. So I don't know. I think education, I know you didn't ask that question, but I think education within schools, as far as to be able to pick up the abuse, to be able to pick up what's happening in the safeguarding aspects, because we're all responsible for safeguarding, and they say that in schools as well, but we don't recognize it in schools. There's not a procedure. People's hands are tied. When you see one parent being bad-mouthed, or one parent that can't get access to the child, or they're freaking out because they can't get access to the child, and that's not reported to the police because it's abuse, they'll treat the child in sort of like, they might put what might happen is they'll see things happening in the child's behavior, maybe the child acting out or getting tired or whatever it might be, and the treatment that they give to the child would be the wrong treatment. So I'm going down a bit of a tangent, a bit of a road right there, but coming back to the whole point of, narcissistic abuse, we don't see it until it's too late, and then we've got children with these people. Educating folk early on, I think, is absolutely crucial, just so that you know what you're looking for, so that, like Mary says, you've got to run from these people. You've got to literally just turn the other way and go, because what you see from them literally is the tip of the iceberg, and they will, if it causes your death, they'll say it's your fault. And some of them are even out there stalking you, wanting you to die. Just, it's deep. It's real bad.
It is. And I have alienated parents saying that, once their adult kids are coming back, they're scared to have them in the house. They don't think twice about picking up a knife, threatening them. They're beating them, drugging them. And I'm like, wow, how could these kids be so damaged? And, that's why I didn't push my kids, because I know what they were taught to do before. And I know they did wrong then. They wouldn't hesitate twice to think about killing me if they walked in my door, just to please the alienator. So this is what we're dealing with. These children are severely traumatized, and there's nothing we can do for them anymore unless they want to change themselves. And how many narcissists out there say, hey, I'm a narcissist, I'm an abuser, I want to change, other than Sam Vaknin. But, he taught us a lot. And he came on our show and told us he was the narcissist. And, he improved himself, but did he really? Do we know that he won't be like a walking time bomb and blow up like everybody else is these days? Because, Sorry?
Yeah, we see things from him. We'll watch his videos and we'll still see it in him, won't we?
Oh, yeah. You can tell. I mean, we've been through it. And so it's hard to trust people that we meet today. If they don't have a good relationship with their family, if they don't talk about good things about their family, you're not going to be a good family. Because if they're bad-mouthing their parents, their siblings, their aunts, their uncles, their grandparents, run. That's all I got to say. Right?
Yes.
So I want to read this one from Sharon Clark. She says, from my experience, I've learned that you can't control a narcissist's loyalty, no matter how well you treat them. They won't reciprocate kindness and honesty. I was married to a narcissist. Wow, that's a long one. Hold on a second. I got bad eyes, so she was married to a narcissist husband for 4 years, unaware that he was cheating. And when she noticed changes in his behavior, she confided in a friend who introduced her to oh my God, is this a spam?
Yeah, be careful. It is long, yeah. Maybe it's written with AI,
I mean, hey, we get everything.
Andy, that one, I think that Mary's reading out, I'm guessing, right, that one is now going to introduce you to a detective, whatever it might be, or some kind of, we get that post all the time on our website.
Me too. I just didn't realize it was so long until I had to open it. And I'm thinking, oh, wow.
Well, look at, I think 7 out of 10 guys or more that cheat on their spouses are narcissists because they're promiscuous. They don't care how they affect other people. It's simple when you look at it.
It is. And sometimes that's what they see at home too, right? And it may not just be the parent that they're watching. It could be an aunt and uncle who comes into the house all flaunting. She's got all these dates. So the kids are watching this. And what do these kids do? They grow up to be that flaunting aunt or...
Quick example, Joseph Kennedy, the old guy. He had two sons, Robert and Jack Kennedy was president of the United States. He cheated lock, stock, and barrel. So what did these kids? They grew up in the family seeing that. So John Kennedy was the president, but he was a womanizer
Yeah,
because it's learned behavior.
that's right. My ex-husband, that's all he heard, that his dad was a monster and that he cheated and cheated and cheated. So what does he do? Brings home mistresses. And, don't bring them to my house. Get out.
That's
Leave.
right.
And that's the kind of things they learn because they think that you don't expect them to be having an affair with them. They bring them because we bring friends over, right? But if you're going to have an affair, don't bring the person you having an affair with into the home so that the children will be set up to be on that person's daughter's school team for hockey or whatever, because this is what they're doing. They're setting the children up together to socialize so that they could have a relationship that isn't suspected as a relationship. So, we see things. We're not blind to it.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really
education.
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think really important, isn't it?
It is.
That's the thing. So the folks listening out there, I think you start looking at your own beliefs. I mean, my beliefs, I had unhealthy beliefs. I thought they were okay, but they weren't. They got me into trouble. Like the belief of, well, if you're a good spouse and you work things through, then everything should be okay. Well, it's not. Or if you show somebody love or kindness, or you can fix them, whatever, or be patient with them, whatever it is, that everything's going to be okay. Or even, if they're a Christian, they say that they're a Christian. Believe it. Don't believe it. Honestly, you've got to test it. Like, test it several times over periods of time, like months and years, and you got to look at your own beliefs, haven't you, and say, how healthy are those beliefs? Because you might have been brought up in that kind of environment, and things might seem normal. You might have been conditioned, and that might be getting you into trouble, but you're not seeing it. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but it might have been what happened. Or if you've got decent folks and you were brought up decently and you were unaware of these types of people and that this stuff happens, well, you're not going to see it then either. So
Right.
Your belief system has to be examined, doesn't it?
Right. It does. Andy, do you want to read the next question? Can't hear you, Andy.
When you listen to your mute the mic, and it's all good, Jack. See, it's all attitude, choice attitude. Welcoming the Parental Alienation Women's Support Group in Toronto, I'd like to know how to save the teenage young adult from the alienating father. Go ahead, Jack. You're the guest on our show.
You want me to answer that one?
Sure.
Oh.
Let's,
Your show, Jack.
Which direction do I take?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm going to try not to offend anybody here either as well. So I'd like to know how to save the teenage young adult from the alienating father. Okay. I'll start off here first of all, and people might disagree with me. So the things. So I think that if we've got another parent who's alienating our children, and we're saying that's an abusive parent, how do we save our children from that parent? I don't think you can. For one reason is because it's their parents. I think what you can do, if you have access to your child, is to model your own behaviors and to get that right. So we might think that our parenting is right, but we really have to start examining it as well. I think there's a notion that we've got to be very careful as well, that if protecting them means taking them away from the other parent, well, now you're the alienator. So there's, you go, oh, I'm not the alienator. Well, you're probably not the alienator, I'd imagine. But this is the danger, isn't it? How do you protect your child from the other alienator? You have to try to, if you're allowed, because you don't get to choose, you know, in a sense, because they've got the control, try, if you can, to remain in their lives, to have some kind of access, and through that access to be very, very careful to not do anything that alienates, to not do anything that is, you know, that puts the other parent down. So if you start saying, if you start trying to be the wise parent and try to show your child that the other parent's behavior is bad, you're alienating. Oh, I don't like that. What do I do then? Well, you just have a relationship with your child. As long as there's not a real, oh God, it's going to come out wrong. This is so wrong. As long
it's hard to
as there's not a
tell.
safeguarding issue, if there's
Every
not a safeguarding
situation.
issue on the side that's like life-threatening or whatever, there is a safeguarding issue, obviously. But if it's not life-threatening and if it's not physically harming, it's obviously psychologically harming. You see, I'm going down a route now of where it's like your children are in danger. But how do you protect them from that? You're in a situation, unfortunately, your children are in that situation. And this sounds really, really, you know, cut and dry. That situation is what it is. So you have to be who you're going to be as best as you can for your child without impacting the relationship between the other parent and the child.
Yeah, when the children are young, they're very vulnerable, and you know, they don't really want to hear bad things, but you know, as they get older, they need to know what happened, because the older kids, they saw what was going on, but they still chose to be with the abusive parent, where the little ones didn't see it, you know, the abuse or whatever.
Yeah, I think little is even teenagers. Teenagers, that's a real hard time.
Oh,
That's
I know.
the time when, definitely, isn't it? Yeah, they definitely
Mine
don't.
were teens.
Awful, really. It's a real struggle, isn't it?
It's
Teenagers.
hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're already going through their own kind of depression, if that's what you call it, their own sense of identity. They really don't know who they really are yet, and then all of a sudden, bang! They get hit with a divorce and all this kind of stuff. So they're really confused, and then they go off into this kind of world that, oh wow, what do I do now? And then to avoid conflict, they choose the one that is abusive, so that they don't get abused, so that they can move on and, you know, just hide in their room and live in a shell for a while, where they know that the alienated parent will always love them, and that's their sense of comfort, or they have to fight for the alienating parent's love. So they're really conflicted, right?
Yeah, your children are on their own journey now. We have to see that children, teenagers, that they're individual human beings, individual young adults now, and they're going through their own journey. It sucks. It's awful, because we have to accept. I say that, you know, we have to accept that this is their journey now, and that they are in the thick of this, and they have to find their way out. So we have to be safe. We have to be as safe as we possibly can be, non-judgmental, so that, and they do come back. They don't come back in the way that we'd like them to.
No.
And they will come back and they'll accuse you of this, that, whatever it might
Yeah.
be. So while they're gone, you're working yourself into a position where, into a way of being where if they come back and start accusing you of all this, that's the time where you have to be very, very, very careful. And, you know, I've done a couple of videos on this as well. Of, you know, my son actually thanked me once. He was 27 when he called me up out of the blue, and his phone call was like, "Hello, Dad. Do you remember back 4 years ago when you did this or you did that?" And I could have gone, "I didn't say that. I didn't do that. You got it all wrong, and you're, you know, blah blah blah." Well, none of that's going to help at all. You have to put yourself into a healthy situation, a healthy way of being, a way of being that actually, you know, it kind of teaches you how to be a good communicator, good listener to people in general, even to be healthy just for yourself.
Right.
And yeah, so how can you protect your teenage child? There's things that you can't protect them on, but there's other things that you can, and that's through becoming a certain way. You've got to change. Basically, you have to change, and that's really difficult because there's things that you have to let go of.
Right. That's all we could do really is just love them and hope that, you know, they don't backlash at us, and just show a little kindness and respect, because they're going to go through life and they're going to get married. They're going to go through divorce. They're going to be divorced twice because they've already had to go through a divorce once, which was none of their business. So courts need to keep the kids out of it, I believe. And if they don't, all our kids are going to end up damaged, because there's going to be more divorces in the next 10 years that I see coming, because our kids will never have that relationship that we had 40, 50 years ago, that loving kind of, you know, easy breezy feeling. They're going to be on their toes forever. But we've been we're over the hour mark here, Jack. I don't want to kick you off. I know, you know, it's 2:00 in the UK now. But we could have you back for a part 2, because you're very, you know, knowledgeable, and this is very important for us to educate and keep educating and keep talking about it. So your last words out there for viewers on narcissistic abuse.
Oh, geez. Narcissistic abuse is, crikey, if you're being alienated from your children, you're being abused. And 100% without a doubt, what we call narcissistic abuse, there's a pathology behind that. There is a pathogen behind it. Nobody would do this to a child or to you unless there's something wrong with their way of thinking. You know, like Andy said, you know, there's choice, and these people are making a choice. And we all can make mistakes about alienating, whatever it might be. So it doesn't make us abusers, you know, narcissists or anything like that. We care. And you have to check yourself as well, I guess. And if you do check yourself, you know, that's a good place to be. I don't know, we could go off for another 2-3 more hours doing this. Final words about narcissistic abuse. Narcissistic abuse is real. You have to look after yourself, and it's good to do a bit of digging. And I think you've got to get to a point where you're okay being on your own as well, and overcome that, the loneliness of it, so that you can be on the outside, you can see it, and then you can start making more reasonable, wise decisions on things that you didn't know about before. What last words can you say? You've been abused.
Yeah, that's it. What else do you say to that? You know, like, we need help. We just need to be strong, and we need to learn from it. And I don't want to say ignore it, because we can't ignore it, but try to love yourself. These are my last words to viewers out there about narcissistic abuse. Love yourself like you always did, because sometimes that's what got you to be cheated on, because you took good care of yourself where the narcissist didn't and wanted someone else to take care of them. So, but I just want to say Parental Alienation Women's Support Group from Toronto, thank you, she says. And I have to be an example for him, for the son. This is the lady that you told her, gave her some good advice on her son.
Yes,
So,
you do. Can I mention our channel? Would that be okay?
Sure. Go ahead, Jack.
Okay. The website is www.paawareness.co.uk. Nearly forgot that.
Give me
Sorry.
a sec. Let me put that in there. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I've been working on all these other devices while we talk, and it's so much, so much work. But I don't want to miss it because I'm very slow here, and so is my computer. But give me a sec.
It's all right.
But I just want to, okay, while I'm waiting for my computer to come on, I just want to say that next Sunday, we have Dr. Catherine Ray coming on at 8 p.m., which is our next guest. So I'm going to, wow. You know what? I might have to do this at after because it's not giving me no screen. I hope I didn't get cut off like I usually do. So I'll add it. Send it to me through the email and I'll add it to the group, the page, okay?
Cool.
Jack?
Got the Jack Goodings YouTube and the PA Awareness UK YouTube. So check those ones in as well.
Yeah, I'll add them all on to there so that people can find you. This podcast is going to YouTube, LinkedIn, and my Parental Alienation is child abuse page. It's gone to the Andy Martens page and to about 150 other groups. So we are putting it out there for you.
It's good.
So,
it's good. We need
to end
know
this now. Thank you, Jack Goodings from London, UK, all the way from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. This has been a great podcast on parental alienation and narcissistic abuse. Anyone that wants to reach out and share their story, come on to Let's Talk, Real Talk, please PM me anytime and we'll get you hooked up and you could share your story and help others worldwide. Children, never give up on your alienated parent, grandparent, family, your friends. You know, you are well loved and you know that you're always greeted with open arms. So thank you for everyone tuning in tonight. Thank you from Let's Talk Real Talk with myself, Marielle Kovacs, and Andy Martens. Good night, Jack.
Good night. Good night, everybody.